Hey, how's it going? My name's Riley, and I wanted to create a short video covering the cost of building a website, so figuring out how much it would cost to have your website built, both in terms of hiring someone or doing it yourself, and then also uncovering some of the hidden costs that not many people talk about when actually discussing how much it costs to build and maintain a website. So the first thing is, just starting from the beginning, how much does it cost to pay someone to build your website for you? And in terms of a small business, you're not going to see anything upwards from $10,000 and up. Typically, you won't even see anything $6,000 and up. Most of those costs will come from an agency. Now, for a freelancer like me, if you wanted a 5 to 10 page website built, it could cost anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000. That's typically the range that you will see for a freelancer like me who is building your website. Now, a lot of this stuff comes and depends based on what all you want done to your website. Do you want it optimized for SEO? Do you want it optimized for conversions in terms of building out a strategy to convert visitors into leads and then customers later on? What all do you want done to your website? Do you want custom imagery? Do you want me to write the copy for your website? What all are you looking for? And that will typically affect the price, whether it goes up or down. It just depends. Now, if you wanted to build a website yourself, typically it's free. It's free in cold hard cash. You're not paying any of that. But you also have to consider how much time you are putting into your website. How long is it going to take you to get that website built from the ground up and get it to the point where it's ready to release and represent your business? And that's what you need to think about here. So just as an example, if it takes you 10 hours to build your website, to write the copy, to do the imagery, to lay everything out as you want it, and you value your time at, let's say, $60 an hour, it would cost you $600 to build or buy that website. So that's just something to keep in mind. Most people don't think about how much time they have to put into it and how much time they are spending on their website. So another thing, once you've got your website built, it's also important to think about how much it would cost to keep it up and running. And typically you'll see two costs here. You'll see domain ownership, so how much does it cost to keep your domain name? And then the next thing is hosting. And there are some workarounds to this where it's not super complicated to get hosting set up. If you were to use WordPress and build your site straight from WordPress, typically you have to go through the process of setting up hosting, setting up your WordPress account within that hosting provider. It just gets a bit more complicated. That's where I would come in and set all that up for you. But if you wanted to build it yourself and you wanted to avoid that whole process, you could use a product like Wix. Now, before I get too far down the rabbit hole here, in terms of hosting and domain ownership, typically owning a domain name, pretty cheap. $15 a year, that's about the most that you'll see it. Then for hosting, you could find anything from $6 to $10 a month. Now, I do want to just say that it's important that you don't cheap out on your hosting, just because this is what is going to be doing all the processing power in the back end. If you have a cheap host and it's not performing very well, your site's going to be slow, it's not going to perform as well, and people are going to get aggravated and just leave your website. So if you're going to spend a little bit more money anywhere, I would recommend it on your host, just so your website performs without any kinks or catches in the system. So $6 to $10 a month typically for your web host, and then about $15 a year for your domain name. Now, beyond that, and going back to the Wix that I was talking about, Wix makes it easy. So like I was saying, with WordPress, you typically have to set up the host, then you have to connect it to WordPress, and then something that I just thought about now would be you also have to connect your domain name to WordPress to get all that stuff working. Wix makes it pretty easy for you. It's a drag and drop builder. You don't have to know any coding. You don't have to do any of that. Now, there are some pitfalls to it or some downsides, but for the most part, setup is pretty easy. If you just wanted a simple website, you don't want to spend a fortune on it, Wix would be the way to go. It combines the hosting cost. If you were to buy a domain name through Wix, it would combine that cost as well, and you don't have to do all of these connecting your domain name, connecting your hosting. You don't have to do any of that. It's all running through the same person or the same company, and you don't have to deal with any of that technical stuff. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. And the one last thing before I let you go here is actually when you get to a point of wanting to make your business look more professional, and you want to make the point of contact in terms of email look more professional and have a custom email for your business, let's say, in my case, Riley at RocketThruster.com. I want to have my domain name in my email, then that's an additional cost that you'll have to pay for. And typically, I run all my stuff through G Suite, and I have my Google customized email running through G Suite. That's typically $12 to $22 a month. Although $22 is their enterprise package, they actually have 3 packages that you can use: the $6 a month, the $12 a month, and then the $22 a month. I'm in the $6 to $12 a month package right now. So that's typically all that you have to expect here. Maybe as your business gets more complicated, or sorry, your website gets more complicated, you may see more costs, but for a simple website, that's about all the costs you'll see there. So anyway, hopefully this was helpful, and I hope to talk to you in the next video. See ya.